Alright, welcome back to WMMA Now with your host Chuck Stevenson, and welcome to episode number 51 of the WMMA Scene Report, our mostly weekly show where we go over everything that's going on within the world of the women's divisions of mixed martial arts. Tonight, the UFC drought is finally over. We'll be talking about UFC 46 and premiering the women's fights on that card. But first, we'll start where we always start, with the previous week's fights. So we're going to one championship, a new tomorrow in Bangkok, Thailand. Two ladies' fights were on this card. First up, Ayaka Miura defeated Mara Mazar via submission due to Americana at 3 minutes and 1 second of the second round. Miura climbed to 10-2. Mazar fell to 6-3, and this was in the flyweight division. So this fight was basically, if you go back and watch last week's episode of this show, I said that Miura is all about doing one thing, and she does that one thing really well. And if you can't stop that, then you're going to lose. And we saw pretty much within the first round that Mazar was unable to stop Miura from doing the one thing that she does really well. I mean, Miura took her down, put her in the scarf hold, and tried several submissions from there that she was unable to get. And then she did it again in the second round, and that time was able to get the Americana, which is her favorite submission by far. It's definitely her most used. So another nice win for Ayaka Miura, who remains, I believe, is now 3-0 within one championship. Then up at the co-main event of the evening, Stamp Fairtex defeated Pooja Tomar via TKO due to ground and pound at 4 minutes 27 seconds of the first round. Stamp Fairtex climbed to 4-0. Tomar fell to 4-4. You know, I said last week that the pick to make was Fairtex. I said this was actually a step backwards, and it really was. This is kind of a bit of a step back for her. Hopefully we'll see her get a step up in her next fight, but I'm not, holding my breath for it. All right, so that was this past weekend's fights. Only it was a short weekend, but we're just getting into the groove of things in January, the new year 2020. So let's move on to the news for this week, the news and announcements. First up, some Bellator news. Bellator announced a strawweight fight for Bellator 238 going on January 25th in Inglewood, California. Ava Knight, who is 1-0 and is a boxing champion, will be taking on Emmy Lee Geddes, who is 3-3. It's nice to see Ava Knight back in the Bellator cage so soon. I liked what I saw from her in her first fight. A lot to work on still, but she looked good for a fighter making her MMA debut. More Bellator news. Bellator added a flyweight fight to their card in Dublin, Ireland. At flyweight, Bec Rawlings, 7-9, will be taking on Elena Calianado, 7-3. So this is do or die for Bec Rawlings. I mean, she's already has a losing record. She needs big win. We'll see what she'll be able to do next month. I believe that's next month in February. Next up, a contract signing announcement. Strawweight and one-time Bellator fighter Jennifer Chiang, 1-0, has announced via Instagram that she has signed a 4-fight deal with Invicta FC. Debut to be announced sometime later this year. Next up is some UFC news. A strawweight bout, the rematch between Rose Namajunas, 8-4, and Jessica Andrade, 20-7, has been announced for UFC 249. Big rematch, highly anticipated. Can't wait to see it again. Zoila Frausto announced via her social media that she is booked for the Combate Americas card on February 28th in Fresno, California, against an opponent to be announced. Next up, UFC Fight Night Columbus, March 28th. This is a fight that is currently being finalized. A bantamweight bout between Juliana Pena, 9-3, versus Aspen Ladd, 9-1. This is a big fight for the UFC bantamweight division. 2 top 5 fighters taking on each other. Possibly the next title contender will come out of this fight. And then finally, it was a short news week. Bellator announced a fight for Bellator 239 going down February 21st in Thackerville, Oklahoma. A flyweight bout between two stand-up fighters. Denise Kielholtz, 4-2, taking on Christina Williams, 3-2. That should also be an interesting fight. All right, so a short news day. Now, this is normally when we move into the UFC rankings update, but there hasn't been an event in several weeks now, so there have been no real updates to the UFC rankings. Which moves us along to the little segment I like to call Welcome to the Scene, where we welcome the newest, or really I welcome the newest named subscribers to the channel. If you go into your settings and change your subscriptions to public, it lets the channel know when you subscribe to them. So welcome Hiroshita Kubo, Robert Henry, MK Ultra. I see what you did there with that name. A name that was in Cyrillic that I don't know how to read. Sorry about that. Sosa Tat and Scott Marino. So welcome to the scene, all of you. All right, so we're going to keep this evening short. So we're moving right back along to the weekend preview. And there's only one event coming up this weekend, and it's a big one. UFC 246 has 4 ladies fights on the card. First up, we're going to flyweight. The opening fight of the prelims, Sabine Amazo coming in 7-1, taking on JJAldrich 8-3. The Colombian Queen coming in off a win after losing her UFC debut. She recently defeated Shayna Dobson. JJAldrich coming in off a win over Lauren Mueller 3 months ago after losing her flyweight debut to Macy Barber. She was riding a 4-fight win streak, I believe, before that at strawweight. Let's see. Aldrich is the older fighter, 27 years, to Mazo's 22. Mazo is the slightly taller fighter, 5 feet 7 inches, 170 centimeters, to Aldrich's 5 feet 5 inches, 165 centimeters. And Mazo will have a matching reach advantage, 70 inches, 178 centimeters, to Aldrich's 67.5 inches, 171 centimeters. So here you have a fight between 2 mostly stand-up fighters. You have kickboxing for Mazo versus boxing for Aldrich. Aldrich's style is very basic, but it is a clean, basic style of boxing. Mazo loves to throw the high kick. She's known for having several knockouts via high kick. I see this fight. I see Aldrich doing much like what Moroz did. Yeah, Marina Moroz did in her matchup with Aldrich. Or Moroz, excuse me. I see this fight going Aldrich doing much like what Marina Moroz did against Sabine Mazo. Aldrich getting in Mazo's face, beating her up in the clinch. However, I see Mazo adjusting a little bit faster than she did against Moroz. And I see Mazo taking over probably in the second and third round, most likely leading to a decision win for Sabine Amazo. So next up, we're still on the prelims, it looks like. Yep, on the prelims. We're also staying at flyweight, however. Macy, the future Barber, coming in 8-0, taking on Roxanne, the Happy Warrior, Modafferi, 23-16. So Barber is coming in, of course, undefeated. Modafferi's coming in off a recent loss 5 months ago to Jennifer Maia, preceded by a win over the then undefeated Antonina Shevchenko via split decision. Modafferi's the much older fighter, 37, to Barber's 21 years old. Modafferi's actually 1 inch taller than Barber, 5 feet 6 inches, 168 centimeters, to Barber is 5 feet 5 inches, 165 centimeters. The reach extends a little further than that for Modafferi, 69 inches, 175 centimeters to 65 inches, 165 centimeters for Barber. So this one has the widest odds on the entire card. I've seen Modafferi upwards of a plus 600 underdog. So huge difference in the betting in between the odds for these two, which I feel is kind of ridiculous. I mean, I think a lot of people get confused by Modafferi's looks and tend to underestimate her a lot. And they definitely underestimate how far her skill progression has come over the years. And then you look at Barber, who all of her wins in the UFC are by finish so far. But, I mean, they're not against the greatest of opposition, though, either. She came in, she beat an opponent who came on late notice and was much smaller. In fact, I think Barber missed weight on that one. Let me see real quick here. Yeah, Barber missed weight by half a pound on that. That was at straw weight. Then she moved up to flyweight, took on JJAldrich, who was also moving up to flyweight for the first time. Finished her in a second, and then most recently beat Jillian Robertson, who Jillian Robertson's striking just isn't that great. Modafferi's isn't that great either, but she has improved a lot. You know what? I'm going against the grain on this one. I think Modafferi not only has the experience here, which she definitely has the experience, but she also is tough and not easy to finish. And I think the Barber hype train is getting a little bit out of control already. We're going with Roxanne. I'm going with Roxanne Modafferi on this one. Brings us up to the main card, a strawweight bout. Claudina Gadelha coming in at 17-4, taking on Alexa Grasso coming in at 11-3. So Gadelha is coming in off a win over Randa Marcos 6 months ago, preceded by a loss to Nina Ansaroff a year ago. Grasso is coming in off a loss to Carla Esparza 3 months ago, preceded by a win over Karolina Kowalkiewicz 7 months ago. Gadelha is the older fighter, 31 years, to Grasso's 26. Grasso slightly taller, 5 feet 5 inches, 165 centimeters, to Gadelha's 5 feet 4 inches, 163 centimeters. The reach extends slightly in favor of Grasso, 66 inches, 168 centimeters, to Gadelha's 63.5 inches, 161 centimeters. So here you have a classic striker versus grappler battle. The boxer in Grasso with the wrestler and submission fighter in Gadelha. Really, this fight comes down to how each fighter comes in and how they approach this fight. Gadelha claims that she has the fire relit in her. We'll have to see about that. Her cardio has looked really bad in her past several fights. She went from being like a 2.5, 3-round fighter down to being a single round fighter. Whereas Grasso, if Grasso comes in smart and prepared properly to take on a striker and lets her hands go, she can definitely win this. If she comes in using that low stance that she used to take on Esparza, she's going to have a much harder time with this. She can't be approaching wrestlers all the same. And lately she's been fighting, really ever since the Suarez fight, she's been afraid to take on and strike with the grapplers. Honestly, though, I have not been impressed with Gadelha in quite a while. And while I haven't always been impressed with Grasso in the UFC, you can at least count on Grasso's cardio to get her past the first round. So I'm going with Alexa Grasso in this one. Which brings us to the co-main event of the evening. We're going all the way up to bantamweight. Holly, the preacher's daughter, Holm, coming in 12-5 versus Raquel, Rocky Pennington, coming in 10-7. So here you have two fighters. They're getting down into towards the end of their career. Holm's coming off a loss to Amanda Nunes via knockout 6 months ago, preceded by a win over Megan Anderson a year ago. Pennington's coming in off a big comeback win over Aldana 5 months ago, preceded by 2 straight losses to Nunes and Germaine de Randamie, respectively. Holm is the older fighter, 38 years to Pennington's 31. Holm slightly taller, 5 feet 8 inches, 173 centimeters, to Pennington's 5 feet 7 inches, 170 centimeters. And Holm has a slight reach advantage, 69 inches, 175 centimeters, to Pennington's 67.5 inches and 171 centimeters. So we have a rematch from, I think this was like Holm's third fight in the UFC, or second fight maybe, the one right before she got to fight, Ronda Rousey, of course. And it was a very close fight, went to a split decision in favor of Holm, and I predict this one's going to be a very close fight. Of course, Holm's coming off a big knockout loss, but Pennington, she hasn't really looked the same ever since she had that broken leg or whatever it was. Fortunately, she came back right away and faced Nunes, which was a mistake, and Nunes just destroyed her. And then she did not look good at all against de Randamie. She looked a little better against Irene Aldana. Holm, however, has been pretty much splitting wins and losses ever since the Rousey fight, and just hasn't been able to find the same form that she brought into that fight. But you know what? Honestly, the winner of this doesn't matter, even though they're both still higher up there in the rankings, which I really don't understand in Holm's case. But I see it mostly going the same way as the first. A very close fight. It's going to be a pick'em, so we'll pick Holm to win. All right, so that was the UFC 246 premiere. No discussion topic tonight. I'm actually going to leave those in separate videos for the coming future. We'll see. Might incorporate them back in later. Tried to keep this one a little bit short tonight and mostly just focus on the UFC 246 premiere. Anyway, let me know your thoughts on whatever in the comments down below. Likes are always appreciated. And of course, if you haven't yet, then what the heck are you waiting for? Subscribe to WMMA now, the best, fastest growing women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that bell for notifications. It'd be a lot cooler if you did. And we'll see you next time.